DAO Watch episode 28. This one is called Mergers and Fee Switches. This one's a real doozy. If you're not really into PIVX or Dash, or you're not really into how two blockchains may possibly merge in the future, but probably won't, then you might want to skip ahead to the 30-minute mark, roughly. There should be a timeline at the bottom of the video, so just skip ahead there. Our guest DAO is one of the biggest and most important DAOs in the world. It is the Uniswap DAO. The Uniswap DAO, of course, Uniswap is the biggest. Uniswap is the biggest DEX in the world, more than likely. ThorSwap might want to argue, but by market cap, it's definitely Uniswap. It's obviously an Ethereum only DEX, so it doesn't cover all of the chains in the crypto sphere. But yeah, DAO Watch episode 28. I'm your charismatic host, Cryptosi. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to DAO Watch episode 28. Yep, this one is accurately titled Mergers and Fee Switches. And our guest DAO for this episode is one of the biggest DAOs in the world, possibly the most important DAO in the world. Definitely the most important DAO within Ethereum. Arbitrary people may argue about that, but we are talking about Uniswap. Uniswap is a massive project, behemoth of a project. It was born in a hackathon years and years ago, and since then it has grown to become one of the biggest DAOs in the world. Currently, it sits with a almost $10 billion market cap, $12 billion fully diluted valuation. And in the last, few days, week or so, we have seen an absolute spike in the value. It's almost doubled. Okay, so what exactly is Uniswap? Well, Uniswap is the biggest DEX based purely on Ethereum. Well, used to be based purely on Ethereum, as in the Ethereum mainnet. You could go to Uniswap and you can trade anything, swap anytime, anything, anywhere. So you can go to Uniswap and you can swap between ETH and USDC, and it's all fully decentralized, so nobody can stop you nobody can stop you. The reason we're going to look at Uniswap today is because they've had a simply groundbreaking proposal come through, which is the reason why this massive jump in value has occurred. And in my honest opinion, I think we will get an equally insane jump if this proposal is approved in the next, I believe it's 7 days. If it doesn't jump immediately, it will jump over time. It's kind of like a ETF type situation, whereby it's not really a sell the news event. It's kind of like a once the news happens, people are going to be flooding into this project. But we will cover that later. So Uniswap is going to be our guest. Before that, we're going to cover the usual suspects, Dash, PIVX. We're going to cover one proposal from an EVM-based DAO, and we're also going to cover one proposal from a Cosmos Atom-based DAO. But we haven't got 5, because what's happened this week is that there are 2 proposals which, let's say, overlap. So PIVX and Dash are 2 projects which I've been covering since I've started doing this show, and mostly because they are the OGs of the DAO space. In particular, Dash. Dash came first, PIVX came second. Now, what has happened recently is that some prominent members of the Dash community and some prominent members of the PIVX community, I'd say yes, community, not core teams, communities have come together and they've started discussing whether there should be a merger between PIVX and Dash. Now, to my knowledge, the idea did start within the mind of somebody from the Dash side, which some people may say it's because Dash are the more desperate, and some people may say it's because Dash are the more open-minded. You can pick whichever one of the two you want to pick. It could well be a combination of the two. Now, the way this is all played out, or the way it is playing out, because this is a thing in motion, and the reason it's a situation in motion, the reason why I really wanted to cover it was just to have a look at how these situations can unfold, and what I believe to be some of the helpful comments, some of the helpful characters, some of the less helpful comments, some of the less helpful characters, and what I personally think a merger between the two projects could look like. I give a very brief history. Dash came first. Dash was originally a privacy project. I believe it was called Xcoin, possibly, at the beginning, and then it changed its name to something else, and then it changed its name to Dash, whatever. They then abandoned their privacy. A bunch of people got annoyed. The Dash people say they didn't abandon their privacy. They would say they focused on something else. But the privacy, especially at that time and still now, these are constantly moving goalposts. So if you're not focusing on them, you've abandoned them, because the goalposts will move. That's just the nature of the beast. Anyway, they got as far as CoinJoin, which is, it's not considered serious privacy. Dash people will say that it's never been broken, but Dash people are literally the only people in the world that will tell you that CoinJoin is serious privacy. No one else will say that. Only these guys. Maybe the people from some of the Bitcoin mixing wallets, they might say so. It's never been broken, but it's never had a big target on its head. Nobody's really ever had a real reason to break it, because you get nothing for breaking Dash's privacy. There is no giant bug bounty out there to break Dash's privacy. There is nothing, there is no incentive. So it's not broken, but no one's trying. Does that mean it's perfectly safe as privacy? Probably not, but maybe. PIVX then was born out of that frustration, and a bunch of people went into PIVX. The first thing that I was one of those people. The first thing that they done, so I guess I have to admit, let me get in the camera, my own biases. So I was one of those people who was frustrated, moved over to PIVX. I wasn't frustrated for the lack of privacy, because I didn't realize how important privacy was at the time. I was upset because of the way the governance had panned out, because governance is what I give a damn about. Anyway, once that had happened, the PIVX people then immediately said, whatever we do, we're never going to give up on privacy. It's going to be what we do. It's going to be our reason for being. It's going to be our raison d'etre. It's going to be our MO. It's going to be our identity. Now I'm kind of the opinion, is privacy a reason to be? Probably not. Privacy is just something that every project should have. So therefore, were Dash right? Maybe. I don't know. Either way, that's how the two camps were created. Since then, PIVX implemented privacy through ZeroCoin. That busted, that broke. PIVX fell to pieces. Some leadership left. People have come and gone. And similar things have happened in Dash. They've promised platform. 6 years later, platforms don't exist. So both projects have really had, I would say, a pretty remarkable fall from grace. There's no other real way to say it. Both projects were in the top 10 at one period of time, albeit for a very short period of time. Both projects were in the top 10. Now, neither projects, I believe, are in the top 200. Dash might just be inside the top 200 at the time of recording, but Dash is on a downward spiral, so it'll be outside of the top 200 within a few days. Okay, fine. So the discussion gets started on that hyper negative backdrop. I'll say some positive things about the two projects. The people who are involved in both projects are some of the most savvy crypto native, we can say, maybe people in the world. They've been through DAOs for a long time. Both DAOs are a lot more efficient than any of the others that I show. And generally, we see why. When I show Evmos that I end up giving up on, and these other projects that have got new DAOs, when you look at them, they're just going through all of the problems that PIVX and Dash have already gone through. So we've got very savvy people within these two projects. They're also doing the things that crypto was meant to do. So the market cap can't be a metric for success, because market cap is very fickle. Your market cap will go up and down, not based on how useful the project is, how it helps humanity, or anything like that. It will go up and down based on narrative, momentum, greed, all sorts of things. Speculation. So you have meme coins which are doing magnitudes better than both Dash and PIVX, and they literally do nothing. So for the people involved within Dash and PIVX, it has always been a mission focused endeavor, which I highly respect, and it's the reason why I still dedicate time to both projects. I recently interviewed a guy from Dash called Ryan, who I used to call Rion, and I've called his name wrong so many times I don't know which one's the right one. But I recently had him on DAO Watch Fireside, so check that out. I'll put the link to that in the description. But he's one of those people drawn by mission. You'll find generally in both camps there are people who should be earning $100,000 per year, and they simply aren't, because they're doing what they feel is best for humanity. So you love it, right? You got to love it. You got to see it. I love it. Got to support it. Anyway, the two projects were discussing a merger. Now, what's happened is two people from each camp have gone and discussed the merger. Before they've gotten into the nitty gritty, they've said what we should do is do this in public, and so they have. And they've simply come out and said, in the PIVX community, should a PIVX Dash merger be explored? Now, this has come from Jeffrey, who, through my inside knowledge of PIVX, not inside knowledge, because I'm not inside anymore, my extensive knowledge of PIVX, I know Jeffrey is somewhat of a herald for another guy called Eric, who's turned up here later. I guess I assume Eric might have felt that the optics would be better if Jeffrey delivered the message, but I don't know. I see through it, so I'm going to say it. I might be wrong. Eric, if I'm wrong, you can comment below, but that's what I think anyway. So he's put that, and he's put it as simple as that, as in the title, let me know your thoughts. Meanwhile, in the Dash community, we have, I believe it was Amanda B. Johnson. Amanda B. Johnson is she's one of the main reasons why I got involved in fact, she's the only reason why I got involved in Dash in the first place, subsequently PIVX. So I owe a lot to this woman, because she still is pretty amazing, but she was even more amazing. She was like the Coin Bureau before Coin Bureau. So she would cover loads of projects. Then she went to Dash and stopped covering other projects. Anyway, she's put it as well, quite simply, let's discuss this possibility. And there's also a Discord thread, which we won't look at because that'll take too long. Now, what's basically happened within both camps, we'll start with the negative, is that people immediately come to the aid of their flag. So Siggy, who is generally an open-minded person, has come for an interesting thought, but the values of PIVX should not be given away. I see huge risk for that. Spontaneously, I see only benefits for Dash with a merger. What is it I don't see? And this is a very closed-minded comment from a very open-minded person. It's just the tribalism at work, and that's what we're going to see. That's going to be the theme with this proposal, or pre-proposal. It's not even a proposal. It's not even a pre-proposal yet. It's just a discussion. Ryan, who's come through, and he said, yes, it will be a big lift for sure. If we could pull it off, to combine projects bigger and better than the two existing separate projects. Conversations he's had with Amanda and the PIVX guys so far have been fruitful. I'm not surprised. And then immediately we've got someone who runs to defend their flag, Quizzy, another person who's generally open-minded, generally smart. I remember a proposed merger between Dash and another crypto project in the past, Shadow Cash, that did not end well. So what? What's that got to do with anything? with regards to PIVX and Dash, I do not see that work as well. Too much difference between the two projects and too much bad blood between both communities. I seem to recall quite a few Monero fans ended up in PIVX. I don't know what that is. So immediately we have pure tribalism from two of the people whose comments I genuinely look forward to reading. And they've immediately come out the gates with garbage. Both of them. And I like both of these people immensely. They've both come out the gates with garbage. Now, what should have been said immediately, especially from people like this, Quizzy and Siggy, should have been, where are our similarities? So we're so busy saying that these two almost identical crypto projects, which the only difference, actual difference, meaningful difference, I don't even know if I can say this. I mean, there is no meaningful difference between the two. To the outsider looking in, there are two different flavors of milk. There is no, like, one's got privacy that's slightly better than the other, neither of which have been truly tested, battle tested with any massive amounts of money. Both of them are much of a muchness. PIVX has got arguably slightly better privacy. Dash has got arguably slightly bigger budget. No, they actually have a bigger budget. Arguably slightly better third-party development processes through Incubator than they have at Labs. But to the outside looking in, the two projects are pretty much identical. Even the code bases, PIVX's code base is based on Dash. It's Dash with bolted on extras. Dash is obviously Dash. They're both very similar. Both of them, if you tried to set up a full node, you'd have to wait a day and a bit on an average computer. They're the same. But both of these guys have come out the gates with, we're so different. No, you're not. You're not different. You're not so different. You're so the same. We're not talking about a merger between PIVX and Uniswap, or a merger between PIVX and Ethereum, or even a merger between Dash and, I don't know, Cosmos, Atom. We're talking about two projects that are almost identical. Too much of the people where a lot of the people have been in both projects. A lot of the people hold both of the coins. There are a lot of people, like myself, who hold masternodes of both the coins. So you're not that different. Amanda B. Johnson says, what are the differences between Dash and PIVX that you view as too big or numerable to overcome? So yeah, she asked him to quantify. PIVX is proof of stake, Dash is proof of work. Who gives a damn? Who even cares? Which end user is going to say, well, I'm not going to use this because it's proof of stake. I'm not going to use that as proof of work. Who even cares? They're both cryptos. Proof of work, slightly better security features, arguably, than proof of stake. Proof of stake, if you own only one coin, you can earn, so you're not falling behind. You're not getting inflated away. Slightly better economics. Slightly. But we're talking about very small margins. Very, very small margins, especially when it comes to the actual usage, which is what my good friend, the Desert Lynx, who thankfully didn't come out of the gates with nonsense, actually comes to say. So there is this discussion. Quizzy comes to the defense of his flag, and just he is asked to say the things that, what are the differences? PIVX is privacy focused. It basically their only use case, which they heavily promote. That makes no sense because PIVX can do all the things that Dash can do, but it can also do privacy, including the privacy use case. Dash has many other use cases, including the privacy use case. So why does Dash even need PIVX? Seems to me like PIVX need Dash a lot more. Now, can you see how the two smartest people in both camps have both come out and said the same thing? I only see benefits for Dash. Seems they've both come and said the same thing. So anyway, the conversation rages on and on and on and on and on. But the point I wanted to make was that a lot of the people who are supposedly the most open-minded, these are people who at one point were heavily into cutting-edge cryptocurrency, cutting-edge governance system. They still are into cutting-edge governance systems. DAOs are cutting-edge governance. And look how they're acting. So what do I think? Because I'm going to have to move on. What do I think? I think that the idea of, and I posted it here actually, it was my first spoke. No, well, I don't think they should merge. But that's without having any context on what a merger would mean and how that's even possible. So straight off the back, I'm like, no, I don't think so. That's me. And I've opened with nonsense. Because why no? Why not yes? Why would I even answer without the context? Why? Opened with nonsense. And I believe 90% of people who have joined this conversation have opened with nonsense. Okay. So Eric then broke it down. What he done was, for public transparency, involved the community straight away. It's going to be incredibly difficult to have this discussion without everybody involved. And if they do go too far, people will say, oh, well, you've all done it behind closed doors, and all the witch hunt will start. And the witch hunt did start regardless, because there was a comment here where somebody said, perhaps they're doing this because they own some of the coins. And it was another one of the smart people. Where was it? I'm sure it was Agnew. I'm sure it was Agnew right there. Yeah, here we go. This is another one of the stars. Another one of the stars of one of the cutting edge OG cryptocurrencies. Another one of the stars. Some Dash communities came to PIVX. That does not mean Dash came to PIVX. Well, yeah, but it does. We used to have a thing called swarm methodology, which meant that if 2 or 3 people think it's a good idea, off you go and you go and do it. And that's what happened. And those 2 or 3 people came from Dash. And it is a good idea. Hey, let put my hands up. It's blatantly a good idea. You've got 2 projects that they're fading into obscurity. Both of them didn't see a pump in the last bull run. Both of them haven't seen meaningful adoption. Both of them are falling behind technologically. They both have less than optimum DAO technology with highly experienced DAO members. It makes no sense. It's like having Lewis Hamilton, top race driver in the world, driving a car without power steering. Doesn't make no sense. You put him in the best car. Put these people in the best chains with the best tech. Let's see what happens. Anyway, this guy's come and he started with the witch hunt. He said, maybe it's their prerogative to do. I don't know what the motivation to approach PIVX was by this team. Perhaps they have a stake in PIVX. Uh-oh, here comes the witch hunt. Maybe they're doing it for their own good. Maybe this Amanda, who we've all known for years, and we've never seen her do anything in her own personal interest, sneaky or anything. Maybe all of a sudden, she's doing a sneaky one to make a couple extra dollars by pumping PIVX. I mean, how much sense would that make? And he knows this. Anyway, so that's how it's gone on. And the discussions are really struggling. Both sides are just defending their flags. I think I put a second comment here, which was a little bit less nonsensical. I think that the comment should be, the conversation should move to a discussion platform. Maybe you have 2 people on the plus side, 1 from Dash, 1 from PIVX, 2 on the negative side, 1 from Dash, 1 from PIVX. You have a 4-way conversation, long form podcast, hour, 2 hours. You let everybody get their say across. People can make points, can have a bunch of questions or topics, and off you go. The Dash guys are very good at this. So I think it's something that they should consider if we can get past the flag hugging. Eric has come through with actually a good idea, whereby what he says is one thing where there were both projects would profit would be in the 1 PIV, 1 vote technology being developed, and the same with Dash. Currently, only masternode owners can vote. In Dash, it costs you about $30,000 to have a vote. In PIVX, I believe it costs you about $3,000 to have a vote. Both is too expensive. You should have a vote weighted to however much PIV you own, and on you go. There is a way for you to put some of your Dash into crowd nodes so you can vote that way with the amount of Dash that you've got. Problem with that is that you don't know when you're going to get that back, because you have to wait until a full node is created before you can pull your little bit back, which may not happen for a while. It's a small negative. Also, you're not voting yourself. You're not you yourself putting your vote forward, which I believe is quite an important thing to be able to do. It's a workaround for something that should exist, something that does exist on other chains that are now built. These substrate chains like Atom. If you've got 10 Atom, you get a vote of that 10 Atom. In PIVX and Dash, you don't. It's a DAO with no power steering. He's saying that we should look into that and consider building it based on this Prometheus, which was actually proposed 7 years ago and never actually built. And Eric is absolutely right. This definitely should happen because they were having this discussion and there's no way we can vote for it unless we let the ruling class vote. That's the only way you can gather consensus. That is terrible. It's always been the worst feature of these two projects and they haven't fixed it in over a decade. Shame on them both. What do I think should happen? After I finish complaining about how bad people have been, this person, Chris A, turns up and he's done amazingly. I don't know who this is, Chris A. I wonder if this is Siggy. This might be Siggy. Actually, the more I read this, I think this probably is Siggy. So he's done like me. He's come back with a second. Siggy, if this is you, comment in the thing below. He came with nonsense the first time. He's thought about it. He's then gone and joined the Dash Discord. I'm pretty certain this is Siggy, actually. I'm pretty certain. Just because of the way he's written this, looking for common values and common goals. Whenever I've spoken to him, he's the one that told me that you should look at where you're more alike than where you're more different. I'm pretty sure I got that from him. So yeah, this is him. This is him. And he's come back smart. Well done. Thank you, Siggy. I've just realised that live whilst I'm recording this. Well done. You've restored my faith in people from Europe. I agree that both parties should be proud of their project. Both have excelled in different areas. Both are slipping into obscurity now, though. That's why we need to find ways to collect our common values goals. Inclusion instead of division. Common values, common goals. There we go. Beautiful. That's a great start. And I actually loved that. And then Agnew, he then jumps on the bandwagon of love. To clarify, I'm not against some sort of partnership. I just don't think merging the blockchain is the way to go. Now that I can get PIVX and KMD, well, I'm exploring, adding some to my saying that love is growing. Let me give that a love eyes. Eric jumps in, then they compare the thing. Okay. So, what do I think? Right. I think, here's my view. I feel that both projects are in a technical state. They're in a bit of a state, technically. I feel that Dash Incubator and PIVX Labs are the two jewels in the crown of both. PIVX doesn't really have a core team, and Dash have a core team, but if they're not one of the crowns, right? They're not one of the jewels, sorry. They're not one of the jewels. So I think that what would be worth exploring would be to build a completely new chain. Build a completely new chain and you airdrop to the new chain based on the person's or the people's value within Dash and within PIVX. You even allow people a time before you take the snapshot. You say, we're going to take the snapshot in 1 month, and based on that snapshot, we're going to blah, blah, blah. We're going to start a new chain. Start the new chain. The new chain, you build it with, I don't know, something like Substrate. You build it with one of the technologies which is the top technology now. You have inbuilt governance with these things. It will likely be proof of stake because nobody's really doing proof of work now for obvious reasons. You're outsourcing your security. It's money leaving the chain constantly to keep it secure. It can become very expensive as the project becomes bigger. it becomes unnecessarily expensive for the small percentage points of increased security that you get. These new proof of stake chains don't suffer from the coin grinding and all of those other nonsense things that the old proof of stake chains that PIVX and the like were based on. So you build something like that. You then bring the people who want to merge together. The people who don't want to merge have lost nothing. They could stay in their sinking ships on their Dino chains if they like for the rest of eternity and see if they find any adoption with their 10-year-old chains with 8-year-old initiatives that still don't exist, that clearly exist everywhere else. And that's how I think you should do it. Would I migrate to this new chain? In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, I would sell all my Dash, I would sell all my PIVX, and I would migrate immediately all my efforts to this new chain in a heartbeat, a chain that is built for purpose. You then decide how you're going to tack on privacy to that new chain. That's something for the developers. There are very smart people around in both camps that could quite comfortably identify the best way to implement the best current technology. It would be a form of zero knowledge. It would not be coin mixing. There's simply no chance. And you take it from there. So I think I might separate this from the rest of the video and have this just as my view on the Dash versus PIVX, the Dash X PIVX merger. But yeah, so that's my views. So if you're in either of the camps currently, take a leaf out of Agnew's, my own, and Chrissa, or who I think is Siggy's book, and try to find the common goals, try to find where we are more alike, because we are more alike than we are different. All crypto projects are more alike than they are different. Well, one's a crypto project, the other's not a bank, the other's not a mobile phone payment processor, both crypto projects. Okay. Let's move on, because that's taken a really long time. Next project we're going to look at is Mantle. Now, Mantle is an absolutely massive DAO. I think it's underwritten by... It's not BitGet, is it? I forget which exchange it's underwritten by, but it's underwritten by a huge exchange. It's basically like the Binance to BNB of this particular exchange, and the exchange is huge, but I forget which one it is, one of these massive exchanges. Anyway, they've got this eco fund. Their fund has been hundreds of millions of dollars. The Mantle Eco Fund authorized to establish a $100 million Mantle Eco Fund. Their DAO is hundreds of millions, sorry. Their fund that they've established $100 million. The first capital call was $10 million. And this is a proposal for them to move on to the second capital call and give updates. So on the 15th of January, they reviewed 252 projects for potential investment. 58 projects were selected for deeper due diligence. And they decided on 10 that they're going to invest in. Now, interestingly, if you know that these projects are going to get a massive investment from a $10 million fund, you know that there should be some growth within these projects. I picked out one, Merchant Mo. I don't know if I can. No, I can't. If we go here, I can show you it. This is one. This is how often I do this. You use your knowledge of DAOs to make sound investment decisions. Merchant Mo has now got a $6 billion market cap. If it becomes one of the biggest DAOs on Mantle, which is a chain which, if we look at CoinGecko, is... where's Mantle? Oh, it's quite far down. Or have I missed it? I don't think I've missed it. Well, anyway, if it becomes one of the biggest dexes on one of the biggest chains, whereas if we go to Mantle, it is in 44th place, it's top 100, $2 billion. Can the biggest dex get to 10% of that market cap? Generally, that's where they go to. If we can get to that, we're looking from 6 billion to 200 billion. That's a big jump, 50x or whatever. So because of that, it kind of shows me that like this merchant mode is good, but that's missing the point. That's neither here nor there. The real crux of the proposal is where to spend the next 30 million, and should we continue? Are we doing the right thing? And the answer overwhelmingly is yes. This is how the DAO should operate. The problem I have is that the reporting is somewhat loose. It says how they're going to make changes to the committee, etc., etc., etc. The conclusion was successful with the part of 10 million for the first capital. Proposal seeks to approval for the second capital, a call of 30 million. And this will be bigger. Now, what will they put this 30 million towards will be the interesting part. How do we keep an eye on that? That's another part that we really need to find out. These are the other people that get into back the things that the Mantle fund is backing. These are the partners and the other insiders. But the good thing about this is that you can own Mantle and be kind of an insider. Kind of, not really, kind of. Well, you get to see what these guys are putting their money into. And if they've already got a token, then you get to jump in and put your money in with these guys when they're putting their money in. So the question is, what would I vote? I actually don't have Mantle to vote with, but if I did, I obviously would vote yes. To endorse the following terms: authorize second capital call of 30 million, authorize updated governance process, and expanded investment. Okay, so that's a pretty straightforward one. Mantle, nice big BitDAO. No, yeah, BitDAO's the DAO. BitDAO's the DAO, but I can't remember what. It must have been BitGo. It must be BitGo. I don't know if I said BitGo earlier. So let's look forward to that. It would be really good if they had a video update. Somebody made a video update. I don't know, maybe a handsome guy from London maybe made a video update. Just to say where they were, what projects they were digging deeper into, just highlight a few that they thought were particularly interesting. Maybe even interview some of the founders. Wouldn't it be interesting if they had a series where they interviewed each of the founders that had been accepted into this scheme and discussed what it is they plan on doing, in particular from a Mantle perspective. And that might be a good idea. I might suggest that to them. You never know. Next, this one's nice and simple. On Atom, we were having a situation which I covered in the last DAO Watch, whereby people were putting through these scam proposals where they weren't actually proposing anything that anybody could vote on. They were just leaving links to phishing pages and saying there's an airdrop. You click it, you connect your wallet, you allow a transaction so that you can get this airdrop. The transaction is actually allows them to drain your wallet. You lose all your money. And they've been putting these in regularly every other day or every day or so. They've been coming through. So now this is the last call for governance to raise the minimum deposit to 500 atoms. In case you're unaware, 500 atoms is around $5,000. Oops, not atoms, atom. It's around $5,000. Well, $6,000 now. With the price being at $12 each, Atom is doing well. $6,000 for you to be able to put forward a proposal now. That's a deposit. If you get no with veto, you lose your money. Does no with veto not deter these kinds of... Isn't that what the vote parameter is for? If the people want to throw away $10,000 putting up spam proposals like this, I don't see how it affects the ecosystem negatively. That's because this guy's never lost any of his money. Of course, it affects the ecosystem negatively because it makes it harder for you to go through the votes because there's too many scam votes going up. It means that when I get pinged to say there's a new thing to vote on Atom, and I open it, it's just a scam. Then I start to ignore them, and then a real vote comes up, and then I don't see it, and I've got a life to live. I've got kids to feed. I've got, beauty sleep to catch up on. I know it looks like I haven't missed a moment of beauty sleep in my entire life, but I miss sleep sometimes. So this proposal is very interesting the way it's done. What they've done is they've not put forward all of the options that they have to vote on, because unlike with Snapshot, with Cosmos, you only get yes, no, or no with veto or abstain. So you can't choose on type. You can't choose a particular answer. So you can't pick from multiple choice. So what they're doing is instead here they're having a poll to decide which particular thing to go with. It looks like the poll came out with 1,000 atoms, but they plumped on 500. It's currently at 250. I think 500 is fine. I think 1,000 is overkill, because that would mean that you would need $12,000 to put forward a proposal. Of course, there are ways to mitigate that. You could just start the conversation and then say to people, would you be prepared to put up the $12,000 for me to put up the proposal if they think it's a good idea, if they think it will pass? If your proposal is at least not a scam, if you find a whale that will put the money up, most whales will put the money up for you. I'm not sure if you can put forward a proposal if it takes it out of the money that you're staking. If you lose from your staking revenue, if you have to remove your thing from staking to put it forward as a proposal, I'm not sure if staked atom counts towards your deposit. I'm not sure about that. I've got a feeling it doesn't, but I'm not sure. If you do know, answer in the comments below, please. So with this one, I think it's a nice proposal. It's well written. It's nice and concise. I think it's possibly a little bit too wordy, and the imagery and all that, it's not really necessary. Just say, look, people have been spamming the chain with scams. People are losing money. Let's raise the initial thing. It could have been made a bit more simple. If you're up to date with what's going on Atom, you're going to know of the problem. You'll be aware of it, and you'll see this and you'll be like, okay, yeah, I think this will pass. It's not really a question of what the limit should be. It's not really a question of what they should increase the limit. It's just a question of how much they should increase it by. Another thing they could have done is moved the thing away from burning the deposit to banking it. No, they shouldn't do that, actually. They shouldn't do that, because that moves the incentive to make people want to say no with Ethereum just so they can collect the money. It couldn't be added to the. Never mind, I'm thinking out loud and it's a bad thought. So, yeah, for me, I would say go with 500. I will be voting on this because I can vote on this with multiple wallets because I'm a civil merchant. And I will be voting for yes. This should be increased to 500. Even if they plumped on 1,000 and it went through as 1,000, I would still vote for yes. If they voted on 2,000 or 25 grand, I'd still probably vote yes. Because I believe making it more difficult to get the vote through to be added in the first place is much more important than, or getting rid of the spam is much more important than making it extremely difficult to put the vote up in the first place. This spam is a real problem in my eyes. 1,500 atoms, obviously, I said yes to. 2,500 atoms, I think that might be my limit. I think I might say no to that. I think that's far. But I don't think they'll go that extreme, because that's very extreme. I think worst case they'll say 1,000. It looks like they're going to say 500. And I'm going to vote yes when this one comes up. I'm going to vote yes with all my wallets, and I suggest you vote yes too. This is not financial advice. This is governance advice. And as far as I'm aware, that's not illegal yet. So next, and finally, let's talk about the big boy. Let's talk about Uniswap. Uniswap had a temperature check. Well, they put through this temperature check, it's like the Ethereum way of saying a pre-proposal. They call it a temperature check. I don't like temperature check, mostly because we had a perfectly good term called pre-proposal way before these jokers came out with temperature check. Unless temperature check is actually a corporate term, which it more than likely is. Either way, keep your corporate terms, stick them. So the plan is Uniswap it generates fees. The plan is to share the fees amongst the active voting Uniswap token holders. Now, I wasn't one of those active voting Uniswap token holders, but I am now. Once I've seen this, and I only saw this was happening because I saw the 50% pump on Uniswap price. But what's happening? Some people said it was because Uniswap activated a naming protocol. That's not why it happened. It happened because of this. They're going to turn on the fee switch. This is what the fee switch is. The fee switch means that the fees will go to the active governance people. They're going to really invigorate the governance because currently they have massive apathy. Less than 10% of the token holders bother to vote. Normally, you expect to see around 30% in the corporate world of shareholders voting. In crypto, it's less. Generally, that's because the stakeholders or the token holders could be working class people, whereas in the legacy world, shareholders generally tend to be higher, I don't want to say class, higher class people with a bit more money. Generally, they have a little bit more invested in each of the shares they have. Some people might have $50 in Uniswap, $100 here. They haven't got time to go and do that. And there'll be a lot of people with those small amounts, especially in these sort of, I'm now going to start calling it an OG project. So the Uniswap voted is now becoming quite dynamic. It's becoming quite interesting. They have this delegate scenario or situation, which is very similar to how the other chains have, chains like the Cosmos chain have delegates. However, this is all Ethereum based or based on the other different chains that they're expanding to, which is another part of this, which is very, very interesting. The DAO is becoming very involved in what Uniswap does. It previously was a foundation. Now they're really trying to hand over as much of the responsibility to the DAO as they can. I'm not sure if that's for legal reasons. I'm not sure how legal this actually is, because in effect, the argument always was if you turn on the fee switch, you turn the Uniswap token into a security. And I believe you turn it into a security like that. Now, what we haven't had is we haven't had masses of exchanges saying we're going to delist Uniswap if they add this fee sharing situation. We haven't had that yet. I don't know why. I'm kind of expecting it to happen because as far as I'm aware, although I'm not an expert, as far as I'm aware, if you turn on the fee switch, you become a security. Anyway, the delegators are here. They're showing, it shows how much delegation they have. Shows their voting weight. Some of these are delegators, but they're pretty much just whales. So this one's only got one delegator. He's got 8 million. So this is just a whale. But there are some people who've got 5 million, like Robert Eschner. He is quite a big deal in Uniswap circles. 45 delegators, 45 people, I guess, are delegating to him. You can now delegate. I think I should become a delegator here. Maybe do something that the Uniswap people need week in, week out, and just become a delegator and let people delegate to me. And maybe I will, on a weekly basis, just discuss the proposals that are taking place within the Uniswap ecosystem. Turning on this fee switch will be massive. The returns to the token holders will be huge. Uniswap has historically been the biggest DEX. I think other DEXs overtake it, but it's generally for like a day. Like I believe Solana's Jupiter overtook Uniswap for like a day when they had their airdrop. It was like, oh look, we've overtaken Uniswap, and then it fell back into obscurity. Uniswap is the OG. They released their version 3. Everybody then forks their version 3 once they actually open source it properly, which is something else altogether. They released their version 3, other people copy it, and Uniswap are the standard bearers for DEXs, it must be said. They are planning to, within their own governance, they are planning to deploy on all these other chains. They've now got an onboarding process so that the onboarding can be done with funds from the DAO. The DAO has like $4.5 billion or something like that crazy in it. The onboarding process can be done from the DAO for all of these projects. It's going to cost $250,000 to do it on Mantle, $1 million to do it on BSC, $250,000 to do it on Moonbeam, but they're planning to go to all of these different chains. The plan is for them to go to these different chains before the chains get big. So they want to go to Linear, and they want to be the biggest DEX on Linear. They want to go to Blast. They want to be the biggest DEX on Blast. They want to go to ZK Sync, be the biggest DEX there. They want to not suffer from this liquidity segregation, I think they call it. I forget the word, but it's one of the criticisms that's been leveled at Ethereum all the time. They don't want to suffer from that. They want to be everywhere. They want to be omnipresent. Uniswap wants to be Omniswap. And it looks like the community is down with it. Like they are getting yes votes on most of the things. Most of them are going through. Most of them are going through as yeses. The whole thing has got a thing, but that's not the proposal I wanted to look at. The proposal was this Uniswap protocol governance. You can then go and delegate to somebody. I'm not sure what the reward is for being a delegator. I'm not sure if you get a share of the rewards to be distributed to stakers. It does also say about the process. So this will be a proposal where the chain actually gets updated by the code, which is something that Dash and PIVX also still cannot do. The code will be updated depending on the outcome of the vote. I believe the DAO owns the smart contracts. The smart contracts will update if the DAO passes a certain vote. That will be what the proposal says, and off we go. The smart contracts get updated. The Uniswap front end plugs into the smart contracts, or the new smart contracts. That will have to be manual, I assume. Unless the smart contracts are proxy, so it might not be manual actually. That might happen automatically as well. And it all updates, and it's all under the control of the DAO, and there is nothing that anybody can do to stop it. Somebody could put in the most heinously illegal proposal, and if the DAO says yes, the DAO says yes. It will happen. It's then down to the Americans to distribute violence. And this is a very interesting proposal to see what happens. What will be the response of the SEC? They have to say or do something. They can't look the other way on this one. They definitely cannot look the other way on this one. But we shall see. This person, Eek637, governance lead at the Uniswap Foundation. I'm going to see if I can get him onto DAO Watch episode 4 or something. But for me, what am I going to vote? I am definitely 100% going to... Oh, I don't know, actually. I don't know. I don't know if I should say what I'm going to vote, because would that make me responsible for... Would that make me... Where's the question? If I publicly say I'm going to vote yes, would that make me responsible for creating these securities? Because it's the DAO members that vote yes that are the ones that have done it. I'm going to say I'm publicly going to say I will vote no on this, because I think it might possibly be illegal. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say. DAO Watch episode 28. Thank you so much for watching, getting right through to the end. This one has been a slightly longer than normal episode, mostly because we spent a ton of time talking about a merger between Dash and PIVX. We then moved on briefly to Mantle and their huge, absolutely huge fund that they have. We then moved from there onto Atom, which is trying to get rid of the spam problem that they've got on their DAO. I believe they'll be able to get that in hand without making it too difficult for regular folk like me or you. Well, I guess rich people from the Western world to put in votes still at $6,000 a piece. And finally, we looked at the possibly illegal proposal by the Uniswap DAO to turn Uni tokens into a security. Over to you, SEC. Your move is next. I'm going to be voting no on this, definitely, because I don't want no problems. I don't want no trouble. I don't want no wahala. I don't want no beef. I don't want no nothing. No, I'm a peaceful man. Let me live in peace. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Congratulations on getting to the end. You are one of the people who watches the Cutting Edge show to the absolute end. We don't get many viewers, but the viewers that we do get are beautiful and extremely intelligent, and they're all going to get rich. I genuinely hope you get rich just for watching this to the end. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.